Hi everyone and welcome to Brick Arena. In this video I'm going to be giving you a tour of my Bricklink Lego store. Let's get to it. So this is my Bricklink store, and as you can see it's not a huge room. This is I guess what should be a bedroom in my house, and I'm trying to use as much space as I can. Now at the moment I have just over 100,000 parts in my store, about 103,000. But if you look around with the changes that I've made, you can see that a lot of this storage isn't actually used just yet. That's going to come in really useful for me and is key to me being able to part out and expand my parts and get some of my backlog down that I will have talked about in some of my previous videos. Now, if you've seen an update on this room before, you may notice that this is a new feature. So this is a wall of Rayco 44 drawer units that I've actually had the bulk of these for some time. I used to have about a dozen of them or so, and they used to sit on top of my desk over here with some sets stacked on the top of them, just like these ones are now. But recently I was able to obtain more of these units secondhand through eBay, to be honest, and I used those to flesh out the wall, and it's actually given me an awful lot more floor space to be used. Now I've still got a couple of spare units over here that I've not mounted on the wall yet, and in fact I've got even another one of those downstairs, so those will get mounted onto the wall as well. I'm utilizing a little bit of space underneath the units there just for some temporary storage of bulkier parts, and those are just housed in sort of takeaway container kind of cartons. Now I was able to obtain also a significant number of Rayco 66 drawer units, and I'm sticking with Rayco because I'm a bit not so much OCD, but I like things to be kind of consistent and uniform. So I quite like the Rayco brand of organizers, and I like them to look neat and tidy. And to be honest, it's one of my wife's conditions as well, that, you know, she doesn't mind me having the Bricklink store if it's kept reasonably tidy. And I have to say, this is probably the tidiest it's ever been. Usually there are loads and loads of sets on the floor, but I've managed to reduce that to just these sets over here. In fact, these are not 2 sets but 4, because I've probably explained in a video that I've used before, by and large, where possible, I try and squeeze 2 sets into one box to consolidate space. But getting back to these Rayco drawers, these were a great buy because I found a listing on eBay for a carousel, a Rayco carousel, and the carousel contained 12 60 drawer units. And the Rayco carousels alone, and the carousel is just the part that does the rotation, it doesn't include the cabinets normally, and that alone normally sells for about £240, at least new. Now these 60 drawer units, if you go pricing them up, tend to be about £60 a piece. Now I got the carousel with the 12 units on for £180 off eBay. It did mean I had to collect them. I had to drive over to London, which was an hour or so, but really no problem at all. Now we did have to clean them up a little bit, I'll be honest. You know, my wife helped me, and we had to wash the drawers and things like that, but it really wasn't a major deal. And that's now given me a whole wall of space to start parting out into. Now, I've still got to number them up, to be honest, but you know, that's not a huge deal. I've also got some of this wall. Some of these are still to be numbered up as well, so they're empty and can be utilized as well. Now, you'll notice that I also, on the top, try and utilize some space for some sets that are still to be parted out. Now, these are either new and sealed sets, as is the case with these here, for instance, but others, by and large, are where I've taken the minifigures out and I've sold the minifigures while I'm waiting to get them parted out. And the reason I do that is because by just selling the minifigures, you can make at least the cost of the set back, so that way you're not outlaying an enormous amount of money for no return. You get the money back for the set you've paid, and then you've still got all of the parts left over to sell and to part out. So not such a bad way of doing things. Now, as you can see, I've still got quite a number of sets to part out here. You'll see that, you know, these are open because I've accessed them and taken the minifigures out. Few of them may still be sealed. And then what you've got here is a unit next to it with another kind of storage unit that I use. Now, these, unfortunately, I can't get them anymore, but I do like them. Now, these are WAM organizers, and WAM's a brand that make lots of these kind of lots of plastic containers of all sizes and shapes, and these are good because they come in different compartment sizes. These are 25 drawer units, and I just number each one with an ID, and then each drawer has its own number. Now, if I'm honest, I prefer the Rayco style drawers, purely because, in fact, I can probably show you easier over here, but purely because it's really easy to pull out parts, you know, whereas with these, if you need to get to SAQ, for instance, you've often got to remove the ones before it. It just adds a bit of friction to, you know, picking out the parts and processing them. But still, I do like them. Now, I've got some other sizes as well. These are a slightly different configuration. So these are 18 drawers or 18 compartments, and they're good because you get in this one a nice variety of sizes. So you've got really small compartments at the top, and then a reasonable size here, and then two larger ones at the bottom there. So those again are really good units to have. There's a few other odd sizes as well. So these again are slightly smaller again, 20 compartments, but a smaller configuration. So those are the different styles of drawers that I have. Now, what else have I got? I have got a cupboard over here, and I have a door on this one, and this is a lot of smaller sets that I'll either sell as they are, or I may have taken minifigures out and sold some of them. I've got some leftover brick heads and things like that that I find are easier to kind of sell as a set on eBay rather than Bricklink, for instance. Now, to show you an indication of the backlog, this is a cupboard in the room, or a closet for those in the US, and this is absolutely jam-packed with Lego, all to be parted out. So if I go in here, you know, and it goes way back. Don't think I can get to the actual back of it, but you know, there's set after set after set in there that needs still to be parted out. And this was one of my promises to myself and to my wife when I did the room recently, was to try and contain almost all of the sets to be parted out into the cupboard and to clear the floor space in here. Now, of course, you know, I've showed you some of these sets, but there's still things like these Angry Birds sets. Some of these classic boxes down the bottom here are not actually to be parted out. They actually have been parted out. And I use those boxes because I find them really nice boxes, those classic ones, to store bulk parts in. So where I've got a lot of parts, I'll bag them and I'll put them into those boxes to pick out later. Now, under my desk, I also have a kind of unit that is on wheels, and that's for mostly minifigures from various minifigure series. Of course, there's some Brickheads there, there's some Nexonite sets and all kinds of stuff under there. And over here on the desk is my equipment that I use when I'm parting out, etc. I've got my my trusty Mac laptop here. I'm a big Apple fan. I have an iMac that I use downstairs, and this I use for work and for Bricklink. I have a CTS 6000 counting scale, and I have done a review on this, and I'll put a link to that in the video. Now, I do encourage people, especially those who are running a store professionally, not that I am, but those who are, and are selling parts in bulk. It makes life so much easier, it really does. So if you go to the Lego store and you buy, you know, half a dozen pick-a-brick cups, they're so easy to count the parts. It's really, I can't praise them enough. And then down here, this is quite a new thing for me. Is this a tiny little unit that I bought from IKEA recently, and I bought it to put my printers on and keep them out of the way under the desk. And I say printers because I recently bought, I don't know if I can get it out here, but I recently bought this GK 420D label printer. And that has absolutely revolutionized my life, to be honest. So prior to that, I was using the laser printer here to print out shipping labels. I'd fold the pieces of paper into 4 and I'd tape them onto the front of the package. With the label printer now, it is so quick and easy to just print out labels and stick them straight onto the package themselves. And I use Royal Mail click and drop service, so I print all of the postage through that, and then all I have to do is take it off to either a local post box, or in some cases I need to go to the post office itself. Now, I'll be honest, I don't get proof of postage for small packets. I just drop them in the post box. It's so much easier. I've never really lost anything, and I figure that if I were to lose the odd package, it would be more cost effective than the time and effort it takes me to go to a post office every day. So that's my logic on that. And just going back to this cupboard, I don't know if I pointed out in here, but at the bottom of the cupboard is where I keep a lot of my plastic cups, etc. I have showed in a parting out video that I use these plastic cups of different size and shapes to typically sort my parts. So I'll do that sorting on the desk here, and this is one of the reasons I've chosen to show this or do this video now while the room is pretty clean, because during parting out, this desktop is just full of plastic cups with various parts in that are waiting to be put away. Now, the only other nice little feature that I have in here is I have a little set of Bose speakers on my desk with a subwoofer underneath at the back there. So if I'm sat in here, I can put some music on and chill out to some music while I'm parting out. So hopefully that gives you guys a good understanding of how I've got my Bricklink store organised. I'll just do another quick whiz around the room. It's, you know, reasonably organized, reasonably tidy, but it doesn't always look like this, to be honest. But I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. I think having the units mounted to the wall has just created so much space around me here that I really didn't have before. I used to have some shelving units there and they were quite bulky. They didn't really fit the units very well. This really maximizes the space that I've got to get as many parts into this room as possible, because that is my biggest limiting factor on the size that I can have my store. Now, of course, I have thought about moving my store down to my Lego room. For those of you who've seen my regular Lego room, it's quite a long room and would probably be ideal for the Bricklink store, but that would mean I'd have to sacrifice my city, and I need to think about, you know, where my study area is for my iMac and other things. So I've chosen to keep it like this for now, but as things expand, this may change and I may relocate to another part of the house. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, as usual, give me a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Bricklink topics or just like to see the odd haul, do subscribe to the channel, and I really appreciate that. And I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.